Elite Expert Insider, the podcast that educates, inspires, and motivates you to take your business and life to the next level. We would like to thank Audible for supporting Elite Expert Insider. Please go to the link bit.ly/Elite Audible. That's bit.ly/Elite Audible and get a free 30-day trial to show your support. Thank you, Audible. Now to Elite Expert Insider for conversations with industry leaders. Hi, this is Melanie Johnson along with my business partner, Jenn Foster, owners of Elite Online Publishing, where we make all our authors #1 bestsellers. So if you're interested in getting your book published, please go to our website and check us out, Elite Online Publishing. And we bring you the best people here on our podcast. So please remember to share the podcast, to like it, and pass it on to other people, and leave us some comments. We'd love to hear from you. So today we have Carol Little. Her background is so interesting. She's worked with corporate clients and teaching people, but now she has this thing where she has found a niche where entrepreneurs need to give speeches and talk and present themselves. And she's coming out with a new book. She's going to tell us all about it. It has the word naked in it. That's all I'm going to tell you. And we're going to talk about how she trains people to speak. And you might think of a speaker like, oh, I'm not a speaker. But if you're in business and you're an entrepreneur, you're a speaker, you're a presenter. So Carol, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Terrific. Well, tell us a little bit about your background and then how you transitioned into writing this book.
So I got into the area of speaking and corporate training completely by chance, to be honest with you. I don't know of any sort of trajectory or path that you can take from college to do this, but I was actually in Los Angeles working as an actor and a model. And I went out on an interview to be a spokesperson for a company, and I ended up booking that job. And I found my thing. So it kind of started there, and it's just continued ever since. And it's something that I love, and I'm not acting or modeling anymore. I find that I like being me better than trying to be somebody else, and I'm better at being me than I am at being anybody else. And so my career really just grew out of that.
That's
I started with a company called Nissan, a car company, and then went on to train and speak for numerous companies like Merrill Lynch and computer companies, and you name it, I've probably worked for them.
I was from Detroit. The thing I did with car companies was I used to be an auto show model and travel around the world, which was less sophisticated. It was still giving a speech everywhere I went. It was the same one, but it was still the car company thing.
No, but that's how I started, as a product specialist.
Yeah, well, see, that's what they call them now. So I'm way older than you because you were a product specialist. And when I did it, we were in sequin gowns and twirling around on the platforms. So that
we had the ball gowns. We had sort of leather outfits and various other outfits, but basically that was it. I started doing that, and probably about 6 months after I started, they started asking me to train other people to do what I was doing. So it just sort of,
well, it's so funny when you're in that business, they give you the script, but people come up to you to ask you questions all the time. When in my area, you're on the platform, they were always like, well, what kind of motor? Well, how many miles? They were asking you, and you become this product specialist, and you know more than the salespeople know about the car that you're talking about. So that's so great that it turned into being this kind of show model into the product specialist getting a job with the automotive industry. That's so cool.
Well, and at Nissan, you didn't get a script. So you had to just know the product.
Wow.
And so that's how I started. And then it just so happened that the agent that was representing me decided to start a corporate training division. And they chose 16 people that they thought might be good, and they trained them to be corporate trainers. And I was lucky enough to be chosen. And so that's how the corporate training part started.
That's great. And now since then, it's great you guys have that connection.
Yeah.
The auto show girls.
And look where we are now.
I know.
That's great. So that moved you into the corporate world, and then and then now you work for corporate, but now you're moving into the entrepreneurial world. So tell us how that kind of evolved.
So last year I opened up what I consider a new lane in my business. So I still have my corporate clients who I love, and actually just finished a job for one of them today. So I was just working for BMW, who's one of my favorite clients. So I still have them. But what I wanted to do was to be able to bring the level of training to the smaller business and the entrepreneur space. Because it's not fair that corporations who have these big budgets get all the best training, right? So, small businesses need it too. And so I wanted to bring some of that to them.
Terrific.
And so I'm focusing specifically on the area of public speaking, because even if you have no plans to be a speaker or a trainer or conduct workshops or anything like that, if you are one-on-one with a client, that's a presentation.
Yeah.
And you still need good speaking skills. A job interview is a presentation, right?
Yeah.
So this applies whether people want to be speakers or just want to be successful.
So what do you think are some of the most important things, whether it's on a stage with people or in a classroom at your business or one-on-one, what are some of the important things that you think that people should know about speaking?
I think the most important thing is being yourself. And I know that sounds like a little trite and easy, but after having worked with hundreds of people, I no longer believe that public speaking is people's number one fear. I think their number one fear is what I call public being. People are terrified to just stand in front of a room full of people and allow themselves to be seen. So they start to hide right in plain sight, right? They're fidgeting and looking around, and all kinds of weird things start to come out. And it's all to keep us from just seeing who they are. And so a big part of the work that I do with people is giving them the permission and the encouragement to bring themselves to the stage, because that's really where the money and the magic is. It's in who you are. And if you hide that from the audience, you're not going to be able to connect in the way that you want to and need to.
It's almost like you have to feel like you're talking to your best friend. If you can have that feeling like, I have a connection with you, I'm talking to my best friend, and even though you're talking to 10 people or an individual person that you've never met, and it's being vulnerable to be able to let that side of you out and to be vulnerable to show that side.
Exactly. And that's why my book is called The Naked Speaker. It's not just to be provocative.
Yeah.
It's because not only do people feel naked when they're in front of an audience, but the best way to really engage and connect with an audience is what you just said. It's about being naked, being vulnerable, and letting them see who you are so they have something real to connect to.
Yeah. Well, and when you think about the speakers that you like and that you enjoy listening to the most, you feel like you are friends and you feel like they're talking to you, and you can tell that they're being themselves on the stage, because when you talk to them afterward at the end of the meeting, or if you do get a chance to talk to them, they talk the same, they act the same. So you definitely can see when someone has that shield up, or when you said like they're fidgeting or they're putting up a guard so that they're not really being themselves. And once they let that guard down, then the speech evolves and everyone is enjoying it and everyone's laughing and having a good time, and you're telling the speech how it should go, or the speech or the presentation.
You're exactly right. And so often I'll be talking to someone before or during a break, and they're animated and they're fun or funny and they've got all this personality. And then they get up in front of the room and they're just like this stiff person. And I'm always going, where's the person who was in the chair? Where's that person I was just talking to a few minutes ago? But we don't trust that we're enough. And so we think we have to be something that people want or expect. And really what they want is us.
So on top of that being the most important thing, what are the other less important things, but also still important things that people should keep in mind that are in your book?
So these things are really important too. And that is body language. right? Because your body is saying things even if your mouth isn't. And so when it comes to body language, you just don't want to do anything that's distracting from what you're saying. And that's why the fidgeting or roaming around or doing weird things with your hair, whatever people do, you don't want to do them just because they're going to distract from your message. The other really big component is your voice. That old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
That really does apply. And so I think of vocal skills or vocal dynamics, things like volume and pitch and inflection and tone and pace and all of those things. I think of the vocal dynamics being to speech what punctuation is to the written word. So you would never just write a paragraph, a page of just words down the page because nobody would know what you were talking about. So you need the comma, the period, the double space between paragraphs, which is what I call transition.
Right.
Like we need to be able to follow what you're saying. And so the way you say it is what allows us to do that. So that's a big part of it. And obviously you don't want to be monotone. You want to be interesting and keep
and
people.
I think it's one of the things being in the business that we were in when we were young was that, you know, listening to your voice, recording your voice, hearing how you sound. And that's also kind of vulnerable too. I mean, we do these podcasts, but it's like painful to go back and watch myself sometimes. I'm like, oh, I don't want to see how I look and how I sound.
I know.
But you know, that's what you really need to do is go back and listen to all that and see yourself in the body language and video yourself and hear and see the whole package. As painful as it may be sometimes to do that.
That's why when I work with people, and that's why when I work with people, I always videotape them. And I videotape them at various stages so they can see their own improvement and growth. And it is important to hear how you sound because people often aren't aware of things that they do. And sometimes I'll be sitting in the room with my eyes closed, listening to somebody, and it's like, I'm not sleeping, I'm listening for speech patterns. Because sometimes people fall into these patterns of speech that one can become monotonous and lull people into a stupor, but also it affects the meaning of what they're saying. Or they, you know, whatever they say, the end of the sentence trails off and then you just miss it and you don't know what they said. Things like that I'm always listening for and helping them to correct so that the message gets across clearly.
That's terrific.
Well, when you think about when you go to church or if you hear a sermon or any speaker speak religiously, usually the best ones have the inflection in their voice. They have, you know, all of those things that keep your attention. And once the speaker gets up that's talking monotone and doesn't have the pauses or doesn't go down in their voice or up in their voice, that's when you lose interest and you start fidgeting or paying attention to something else or grab your phone, you know. So
exactly. You can watch the audience tune out. You can see it happening if you're aware while you're up there. You can totally see that. You're absolutely right. And I think that with the advent of the medium that we're using right now, Zoom, webinars, your voice and your vocal skills are becoming even more important than they would be because so often that's all they've got to go on to help communicate that message.
Not just the book coming out, Naked Speaker, is supposed to be coming out in the fall. And being a publishing company, we always like, if you're an author, tell us a little bit about your writing experience, putting the book together, the things that went easy, the things that went hard, and what you would recommend to other entrepreneurs if they're trying to do a book. What have you learned so far before it's coming out?
So I think that I tried to write a book before, and I was having a really tough time because I was trying to write a book. I was trying to force the book. But after having done this work for so many years, the book is now coming out of the work that I've done. And so I don't have to try to say something important or that I think I should say or anything like that. It's just come out of the work that I've done and the experiences I've had, the things I've learned from the people that I work with, because I'm still learning. I grow as a facilitator and a teacher and a coach from my students, my clients. So it's been kind of this back and forth, and it just sort of developed out of that, which I think, at least for me, it feels more natural, it feels more right, and a more unique fit and voice for me than just trying, I'm going to write a book about public speaking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, the stories are there because you've experienced them. You don't have to go find a story or think about how am I going to come up with an example of that. You already have the experience. You already have the story.
Yes. And prior to this, I've done some fiction writing. I've written a novel and a children's book, but this is the first time I've sort of attempted nonfiction. And so it was a very different, like in fiction, you can just make it up.
Well, what's so great about your book is you're going to be training people to speak, and that's what your book is about. So what we teach people, especially in business and nonfiction, is that now you'll have that book that you can use as a business card. You can use it to send out to prospective clients. You can use it to give away. You can do so many different things with it. But once you have that, that makes you the expert and authority in that field on a worldwide scale.
Exactly. And then it's a tool. Not everyone is going to be able to coach with me. And they can still benefit from my experience and all that I've learned, even if they can't physically get in the room with me. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah. That's great. So tell us a little bit about what you do one-on-one with clients. So you'll take a client and maybe they've read your book, maybe they haven't if they've signed with you now, and they might be have their own company, maybe with 20, 30 employees. What kind of thing do you do with a personal client?
So I work with them in a number of ways. If they have a team, I can come in and I'll conduct a workshop that'll last 2 to 2.5 days max, just depending on the size of the group and what they want me to do.
Right.
Individually, I have coaching programs. Periodically, I will launch a 90-day boot camp so people can coach with me. It's a group coaching situation. We use Zoom. And they also will get private calls with me. And I work with them that way. With all of my clients, I have them send me videos of them speaking so that I can track their progress, and so can they. I have a client right now who has a really big speech coming up, and it's at a business association meeting, and it's like 700 people.
Oh, boy.
So she really wants to nail this, right? So we're working very specifically. This is just sort of short term. So I get the video of her doing her speech. We've got 2 to 4 hours of one-on-one on Zoom, really laser focusing on the things that are going to really take that speech to the next level. So those are the most common ways that I work with people. And then maybe there's a webinar kind of situation. I often will do those for no charge so that people can just sort of get on and see who I am and get a chance to meet me. So those are the main ways that people are working with me right now.
Terrific. And where can we find you at?
You can find me at littletrainingcompany.com. And I'm also on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at Little Training Company or Carol Little. And I'm also on Twitter at Carol Little 01.
Awesome. Well, we'll put up the link on the video
We're
here.
getting ready to completely redo the website though. So if you happen to go there in a week or so and it's under construction, that's why, because I just rebranded. I've got a brand new logo and all kinds of stuff happening right now.
Wonderful. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you told us how important it is to make sure that you have those skills to be a speaker, whether it's for even your personal life. You're having that conversation with people every day, even if you're a mom, if you're a parent, if you're working on your own, if you're a salesperson. I think it's really important to have those skills and have that genuineness that you talked about. So thanks for coming, Carol. We really appreciate you visiting us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we look forward to reading your book.
Thank you.
Terrific. Well, remember to like us, share us, and leave comments. We would love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks. Bye, everybody.
For more information about us, go to eliteonlinepublishing.com. To get your free book, The Accomplishment and Success Story Starter, simply text your name and email to 832-572-5285. That's 832-572-5285. We'd also like to thank Audible for supporting Elite Expert Insider. To get your free 30-day trial, please go to bit.ly/Elite Audible. That's bit.ly/Elite Audible and get your free 30-day trial to show your support. Thank you, Audible.